So for our next session, we're going to hear a little bit more about unlocking property location data. And we love it when we get new companies in the RESO space, when we get startups, new innovators, new products. But we love it especially when they come into the RESO space and immediately implement the standard in production. So it's exciting to hear when Placekey joined RESO and immediately was one of the first implementers of the new version of UPI. So we're going to bring up Hayden Mortimer from Placekey to talk about a little bit more about unlocking property data.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. So as Sam said, I'm Hayden Mortimer. I'm president of Placekey. I'm going to talk about unlocking property data, but with a more zoomed-in focus. So think about addresses, right? With the idea of data is the foundation of everything we do. So having an understanding of how to work with an open standard to make our data more valuable to us is pretty key. Cool. So I never know how to have a bio. Should it be third person or first person? I went with third person, but Placekey itself is a company that helps assign an ID so you can join data, dedupe data, and work with it across any system or data set you have. I've been working personally in data for my entire career, specifically property data, address data, geospatial data. What I really want to drive home in this presentation are these points here. The first is, what is an open standard, and what does it mean when I say that? I think we all are believers, we're all at RESO, but we probably have an understanding ourselves of what this means. The second thing I want to drive home are what are the challenges with property data. The main thing is inconsistent data, and it also comes from many different sources, right? Depending on any part of the organization you're in, you probably deal with data in some capacity or have the byproducts of what this data does downstream for you. The next is how an open standard can help solve these problems, but more specifically, why we should all adopt it to make this better. Then I'm going to dive into two examples, ourself and UPI. There's a really great discussion in the work group later today, so highly recommend everyone going to that. Then also where the future of open standards are going and why we should all think about it. So, okay. An open standard, there's like 4 key points that I think make a standard open and accessible. The first is what I just said, accessible. Anyone should be able to use it and find it and keep it forever, right? So if you're thinking about what is my standard on my addresses or my properties, if someone tells you that you can get this ID or this thing and it's going to change or have to rip out over time or you can't keep it forever, it's not truly open. That's just going to lead challenges years down the road for you. The next is making it universal. So it should be consistent across different data sets and systems you're working with. If you have it different across systems, it's meaningless. It's a number that's counting. It's something that's just holding a place in your data set. The third thing, it should promote working together. Interoperability is a term that I've heard a lot of people use throughout this conference. It really makes data sharing seamless and easy. Right? You're going to have a lot of different information on properties and also time of what happens to properties in 2008, 2012, 16, 20. That's really hard to always connect. And the last point is when you have interoperability, you're going to improve data consistency and accuracy in your organization. Again, that is the foundation of everything we do. Whether you believe it or not, trust me, I truly think it is. Okay, so what is the challenges with property data? The most obvious one, it comes from different places. You know, the RESO Data Dictionary does a really great job of standardizing the information you have, but that's not all the information. So different organizations, companies, agencies, wherever it may be, need different information for their customers. This can come from public records, this can come from the broker themselves, this could be the transaction history over time, or also other sources. You maybe are buying data from a vendor, it doesn't matter. The problem with all of this data is there's an inconsistency in it, right? So you're going to spend time either joining it together, using an analyst, using someone's resources, solving this problem instead of providing value to another part of your organization. So, show of hands, who has seen addresses that are misspelled or weirdly formatted? Okay, so I see people who are participating and people who don't want to raise their hand. So this is an example to kind of visualize what is really common in this world, right? You're going to see misspellings. You're going to see different parts of the address itself, whether it is correct or not correct. It's great. You can notice there's parcel information, assessed value, above living grade, these are hypothetical data sets that have different information about the property. Any of us can look at this right now and manually correct it. It's not hard when it's 1, 2, 3. It's pretty easy to deal with. But imagine if it's thousands or millions. There isn't a way a human can handle all of this data and look at it without a standard. Or you're going to be paying a team of people a lot of money to deal with it. So before I get into how to correct for this, kind of the 3 points that are costing your organization or costing you specifically if you're not using some sort of open standard that's accessible across all data sets, is going to create many data silos in your organization. I'm sure we all experience this, right? If you have transaction histories over time, they get lost really easily. That's one example of how can it get messed up in your own database. The second is poor or maybe even no decisions are made. How can you confidently make a decision moving forward without using data to drive that decision? We've seen the trend of big data over the years, but are we actually all adopting this? And I think the foundation for it is an open standard. The last is missed opportunities in analysis, right? Maybe we all don't have data scientists or data analysts working in our organization, but somewhere they are helping enable you drive what you do moving forward. If they are not able to reconcile this data across all the different data sets they work with to identify properties, they're not going to be able to give you the best information, present to you the best information on a map, or highlight what is happening with properties. You're going to go in blind. So this is the same information and what a standard may look like. Notice the blue string at the top, 227/224, is an example of an open standard, right? The point to really drive home here is it makes it easy to identify across the data sets, but the string itself isn't valuable. Anyone can assign a number, anyone can assign any value to an address. It only becomes valuable when it's assigned consistently across different data sets and people start to use it. If that's the one thing I can have you take away from my discussion is assigning it and trying to force adoption across different data sets is the key to making an open standard truly open and a standard. So that can help dedupe as well, right? You can see in one data set all the different aspects of that have the same open standard. You can clean it up and great. The other is enrichment, right? There's always different attributes about a property that you may want to have in service to your end user or customer. So in this example, you can see the addresses are different. There's misspellings, there's capitalization errors. This is a copy from an Excel, like the most basic version that anyone can do this themselves with an open standard. You'll see that there's different attributes about the property, in this case, a full half bath and an assessed value. If you have a same identifier and a same standard, you'll be able to bring these together and have a fuller picture of the property, which can unlock so much for your organization. So to kind of reiterate, it's going to help with data management and deduplication, and it's also going to add value and add attributes about properties. This can help you service your customers more. You know, data is gold, like it's the new oil, as everyone has said in the past couple of years, but this is truly unlocking that and making it accessible to everyone in a very easy way. So here are two examples. The first is UPI. I don't want to steal the thunder of the talk later, but it's a really, really great RESO standard on how to assign these to parcels. There is movement going forward on assigning it to properties. I think the UPI is one of the coolest innovations from RESO. It ties into the data dictionary and kind of is the foundation to make that go. The second is where I'm at is Placekey. So we're a little different in the sense that we focus down to the address, think verticality. So individual units within an apartment building, we can give you an identifier to join across different data sets and also on the individual buildings themselves. I think the main thing of what these examples show is there's going to be different standards from different people. There's other technology companies that have IDs themselves. What's most important is you start to accept one or multiple so you cannot be left behind and have your data be siloed. Right? They're all going to have different use cases and you're going to have different levels of what you care about. So you should find what's best for you. But at the end of the day, adopting some sort of standard on your data is going to unlock it and make it more accessible to everyone you work with. Cool. So to drive some of this home, how are you going to use the open standard? So we really love RESO. We came into RESO and saw this UPI and it said this fit perfectly. So you can come to us to use our API or share a CSV and we can give you these UPIs in our service. So many acronyms, API, UPI, it's kind of crazy. You need to go to people who are adopting open standards and pushing it. They're going to be very transparent about it, and they should be. You want to go to companies who are helping enable these interactions and overlaps with data sets. That would be the first point. The second point is continue to work with RESO. We're all believers. We're all missionaries here. We all support the mission and the foundation of what we see. The more we engage with RESO to push forward this UPI, to push forward all these technology companies, it's going to make our lives easier, right? Having a standard for all of us is raising the tides so all the ships will sail. So that's the next point. And the third is talk to your data providers. This doesn't mean if you're just buying data, but where are you getting data? It should be a question that you should all hopefully know the answer to, and ask them, what is a standard you can give me? How can I use this standard in a different way with other data sets? They should be able to answer, and you as a customer, or you can go to your customers, whatever your relationship is with data, you can push this forward. This is something we all should hopefully be thinking about and driving innovation in the space. It's going to save everyone so much time and money so you can work on the hard, interesting problems. We've been locked by data because we haven't, I think, used an open standard enough consistently. And I know there's a lot of efforts to do it, but the more we adopt these, the easier our lives will be. So if I had to have one point to drive home is ubiquity. Ubiquity across data sets is really, really hard, right? Using a standard is going to be your connective glue between everything you do, between your data sets, between the decisions you make. So the more you can drive using a standard, the more you can push where you get your data, the more you can work with RESO, the more you can work with each other and ask your peers, how are you standardizing your addresses? How are you standardizing your data? Will really drive the space forward. So to sum up, ubiquity, ubiquity, ubiquity. Get your IDs on your data, start trying to make your data more powerful, join it together, enrich it with other sources, and make better decisions for your organization. Thank you. I'll be here with questions, and feel free to email me. Appreciate it.